Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to RobMotive. So the question of the day, is modding the Toyota Tacoma worth the risk? Now, you might be wondering, what risk? What risk could there possibly be? Well, even though we have these laws out there that state that the dealership can't refuse, I'm talking about warranty work, if, for instance, there's a part that you installed that had absolutely nothing to do with an otherwise warranted part, it's still a concern. I've heard stories of people taking their Tacomas in for warranty work or to even have something checked out, and the dealership seeing something that the owner had done, some mod completely unrelated, and telling them that they will not cover warranty because you've modded the truck. Now, that is in violation of this Magnuson, whatever it's called, act. You can look it up. It's on the web. But still, the problem is that if a dealership does that, there is recourse. You could take them to court, but the cost probably would exceed whatever the warranty work is that you're trying to get them to do. Not to mention the time, the headache, all of that junk that you'd have to deal with if you're trying to fight a dealership's denial of warranty because of a mod that had nothing to do with the warranted part. So it can happen. I've heard of it happening. You have to decide if you're willing to take the risk, I suppose, to do mods on your truck. Now, let me tell you a little story about one. This is somebody, and I think there's actually a video of it on the web, but they were putting hood struts in, the drill type, where you have to drill up underneath the hood to secure a couple of brackets with those nasty rivets. If you've ever done this mod, you know, unless you've got some kind of pneumatic rivet gun or something, it's a pain to do. I mean, squeezing that thing on there, unless you've got very muscular hands, I don't know, it's pretty difficult to do. But anyway, this cat, he was outside, he had it all marked up. I mean, he was doing everything right. It all looked great. And then he gets under there with his drill and he's drilling up through the bottom and he goes right up through the hood. So now he's got a hole up through the top of his hood because he was simply trying to install hood struts. That's one of the reasons I prefer the no drill type. There's no issues in doing those. You don't have to drill through the bottom, the top of your hood, and chance something bad happening. I will give you a tip. If you're ever gonna do those, make sure you put some electrical tape or something around your drill bit as a stop, just so that when you get to that point, you know it's time to quit drilling and you don't risk going through the hood. Another problem with doing mods, I suppose, is you can create maybe things that you don't like. You know, let's say you go out and buy those really expensive headlights and you go ahead and you put them on. Two things can happen, three really. One, they're not as functional as you thought. In other words, you didn't hook it up correctly or the wiring's not there to make everything work on those headlights, the reason that you got them in the first place. Two, you just don't like the look of them at all in the end. I mean, they're expensive. They're like, man, what, $1,500 in some cases, maybe more than that. A lot of money to spend and then have a mod that you don't really care for. The third is the fitment. Fitment meaning more like the install. To put those headlights in, you got to pull a lot of things apart to do that, like loosening the fenders, getting rid of the fender flare guards or whatever you want to call them around the outside of the fender. You got to pull all that stuff away, and you got to do it without breaking anything. That's something that certainly would not be covered under warranty. I mean, if you go into a shop and say, hey, my fender's not fitting right, there's a bunch of broken clips because I put these headlights in, well, they're going to say, you caused this. You caused this by ripping those fenders off. It's your problem and we're not covering it. So you have to be careful in doing that kind of stuff. Rust is another issue. You know, everybody talks about rust being a problem on the Toyota Tacoma, and it was. I mean, Toyota replaced, I think, thousands of frames because of rust. So the last thing you want to do is something that's going to create an opportunity for rust yourself. I'll give you another example. On the back, I put the Ford, they came, our four Ford tow hooks, those round things you've probably seen on the back of my truck. To do that, I had to drill through the frame. to be able to put those in. And of course, in doing so, I've created an opportunity for rust. I haven't had any issues so far, and it's very important that if you're doing something like that, that you cover the holes. In other words, paint over them so that you don't have anything exposed. You don't have that bare metal exposed so it can rust. Lastly, the availability of things. You know, let's say you get a mod, you put it on, and for some reason it's broken, you need to replace a part or something. You know, that can happen with bumpers, even the headlights or something. I mean, something can be wrong, something can be broken. Now you've got the whole thing torn apart, and you don't have any availability for parts. Your headlights are lying on your workbench. You can't drive the truck because you got to have headlights, and now you're waiting. As far as warranty goes there, if you decide to put the old ones back on, you're going to have to do that yourself. You're not going to be able to take it to the shop and have them put back in under warranty because you did it. It's your fault. So there are a lot of risks when doing mods, I think. You know, even the simplest ones. If you put something on, let's say you're going to put some sort of a double-sided taped thing on. It's merely a stick-on mod, right? I mean, it's not that complicated. But what if you want to take it off? That double-sided tape can ruin the surface you put it on. You ever tried to take double-sided tape off of plastic? I mean, you're trying to use something a little bit abrasive, but not enough to dig into the plastic, but somehow it still discolors everything. Maybe it's kind of a rough surface and that adhesive gets down in the cracks and stuff. It can be almost impossible to get back to the way that it was before you ever tried to do that mod. So it's just something to take into account. You know, if you just got a new truck, maybe you're a budding modder, you want to get your hands dirty, just realize there is a lot of risk in it. You have to decide, or there can be a lot of risk, and you have to decide if it's worth it. If you're really willing to take the risk to mod your Toyota Tacoma. Obviously, if you watch my channel, you know I'm willing to take the risk, and I accept that. I know that if something goes wrong, it could cost me money in the end if I had to take it to the shop to have it fixed. The front bumper that I put on, let's say for some reason I wanted to take that back off and go back to stock, like trading in the truck, it's going to cost me money because I'm going to have to buy a whole new front end, and then I'm going to have to put it on. What a drag that could be. Leave a comment. Let me know. How risky are you willing to get when it comes to Toyota Tacoma mods? I'd be curious to know. Also, real quick, I do have 2 additional channels. RobMotive, JT, all about the Jeep Gladiator, and Mod Driven, all about the Honda Civic. Check them out, and if you're interested, why not subscribe? And while you're at it, smash the subscribe button here too. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Bye.